boys and girls. Today we're doing lesson 116, common denominators. But before I forget, I want to give you the answer to yesterday's riddles. Okay? A little boy goes shopping, purchases 12 tomatoes. On the way home, all but 9 get mushed and ruined. How many tomatoes are left in good condition? You are right. Okay, listen to this. It says all but 9. So how many are still in good condition? 9. Okay, some of you might have put 3, thinking 12 minus 9. Okay, but you have to listen carefully for the wording. Okay? All right, here's the next one. Very similar. Kind of an easy question, but you had to listen to the wording. Okay? It took 6 people 9 hours to build a barn. How long would it take 12 people to build the same barn? Okay? You're right. 0 hours because it's already built. Tricksters. Tricksters. All right? All right. And I will give you guys a new riddle here at the end of today's lesson. Okay? I think I might give you 2. Depends how well you guys listen. I'm going to be watching. Okay? So pay attention closely. If you pay attention really well, okay, I might give you 2 riddles today. Okay? All right, today's lesson, easy peasy lemon squeezy, piece of cake, walk in the park, okay? So it's just super easy, okay? Why is it super easy? Because I kind of taught it to you yesterday. So I'm going to teach it to you. I'm going to go a little bit beyond where the book goes because I feel like you guys are super smart and ready for it. And the reality is you guys are going to be doing all this next year is going to be a huge portion of what you guys are doing in math in 5th grade, okay? Doing all these renaming of fractions, and today we're going to be talking about common denominators. So when 2 people have something in common, okay, they have something the same, okay? So let's just say I have glasses and you have glasses. We both have that in common. Let's just say I have no hair up here. Wait, that wouldn't be a good one because you guys all have hair up there. Let's say I have no hair up here and one of your parents does not have hair up there. Then we would have that in common. We would both be bald right there, okay? So there's lots of things we can have in common. Let's say I love Jesus and you love Jesus. Then we have that in common. We have that the same. Okay, so we are talking about denominators. Well, what's a denominator in math? You know it because it's north numerator down denominator. So the bottom number in the fraction is the denominator. It's the whole. Now what's the definition of a fraction? Remember? Okay, parts. How many parts per, the division bar there is per whole. Okay? It's whole with a W, meaning the whole thing. If it was without the W, we'd fall in the whole. Ah, okay? So it's parts per whole. Okay, so the denominator is how many are in the whole, okay? Whole thing, the whole pie, the whole whatever, okay? Whatever you decide to slice up into pieces, okay? So, let's see. The new concept gets into 2 or more fractions having common denominators if their denominators are equal, okay? So, if they're the same. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to just jump right into example 1. It says rename 2/3 and 3/4. So they have the common denominators 2/3 and 3/4. And I'm going to go like this. I'm going to box these as separated problems so you can kind of see that, okay? So that they have the common denominator of 12, okay? So I look at this and I say 2/3 and 3/4. And I showed you where we were going with this. If we were to have to add these fractions, okay, and come up with an answer down here, okay, then we wouldn't need to give them new denominators because that's the whole purpose of this. It's not just a random, let's find some common denominators. It will have a purpose in math. When we have to add 2/3 and 3/4, I can't add those right now yet because they do not have common denominators. So when I look at this, I have to sit there and I have to find the common factors of them. And right away I can look at that because I'm kind of a math master like some of you, and I can see 4 and 3, their common factor is 12. Some of you aren't going to see that right away. Okay, so what could you do to find those? Okay, here's what you could do. Okay, you take the 3 and you take the 4. Okay, and you factor them out. Okay, you take the 3 and the 4 and you factor them out. And you don't factor them out, sorry. You take the 3 and the 4 and you find the lowest common multiple. I was using the wrong terminology there, okay? You take the 3 and you take the 4, okay? And you go 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, okay? So we got to find the lowest common multiple, okay? Then, okay, we find the 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, okay? And we could go on and on, okay? So now what I got to do is I got to find the least common multiple. Is going to make my life a lot easier, okay? And do they each have a 4? Nope. Do they each have an 8? Nope. Do they each have a 12? Yes, they do. Okay. Now I could go the other way. I could have started the other way. Do they each have a 3? No. Do they each have a 6? No. Do they each have a 9? No. Okay. Do they each have a 12? Yes. Okay, so that's the lowest common multiple, okay? So that's why they told us, they just gave it to us. They said find the common denominator of 12, okay? So if I find the common denominator of 12, then I need to put a 12 there, and my equals, okay, and my fraction bar, and then I have kind of a question mark, okay? So now these are going to be my 2 answers that they want to be found today. That's what they're asking you to find. 2 new fractions with a common denominator of 12. So how do I do that? I go from 3, and that's where here's 12, here's 12, okay? So right there, okay, when you actually start adding these, you're going to have to figure out, okay, today your lesson's going to give you which denominator they want you to have, okay? And eventually you're going to have to be figuring out what should my new denominator be from 3 and 4, and you got to know that your multiples, your math facts really fast there, okay? So now I can go 3 times what, okay, is 12. 3 times 4, whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. 2 times 4 is, okay, 8, okay? And then same thing on the bottom, 4 times what is 12? 3, whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. 3 times 3 is, bingo, 9, okay? So my new answers, okay, 2/3 becomes 8/12, okay? 3/4 becomes 9/12, okay? Now in reality, now I could add those. 8/12 plus 9/12, 8 plus 9, okay, is 17. 17/12, okay? If I was adding that up, that would be 17/12, and many of you guys would realize, oh, that's just a division problem. You'd write your remainder as a fraction, you get it, but we're not going there today, okay? That's more complicated than what we're learning today, okay? So that's example 1. Okay, that's how you find the answers in example 1. I like doing them vertically like this and separating them into 2 separate questions, okay, by boxing them up, and you might want to try to do the same thing. I think it'll make your life a lot easier to keep things separated, okay? All right, so here we go on example 2. It says rename 1/2 and 1/3 so they have a common denominator. 1/2, okay? And I'm going to box that as a problem, and 1/3, and I'm going to box that as a problem. And rename them, okay, so that they have a common denominator, okay? And they don't tell us what denominator to give it, okay? So you're sitting there going, what do I do, okay? What if I picked 9, okay? Let's just throw a 9 in there. Okay? Because you're thinking, oh yeah, I can take 3 times something and get 9. Okay? So you just start doing this. And you're like, oh, 3 times 3 is 9. So I do that. 1 times 3 is 3. Okay? And then you get up here and you say 2 times what is 9? And you're like, 2 times nothing is 9. Okay? So you can't do that. That doesn't work. So 9 cannot be your new denominator, okay? Now, you could just start guessing random numbers like that. Some of you know right away what they have. But here's the best way to do this, okay? Here's the best way to do this. Let me show you, okay? Okay, the best way to do this, and Well, I'll show you. Let me show you the long way first. Then I'll show you the fast way. Okay. So I'll show you the slow way, then the fast way. Okay. So you could do what we did here in the last problem. Take the 3, find the multiples. Take the 2. Okay. Find the multiples. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. Then you can take the 2, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Okay. And you could be sitting there. And now, okay, you just start looking at which ones they have in common. Do they have a 3 in common? No. Okay. They don't have a 3 in common. Do they have a 6 in common? Yes, they do. Do they have a 9 in common? No. Do they have a 12 in common? Yes, they do. They do have a 12 in common. Okay. Do they have a 15 in common? No. And we could just keep going, right? Do they have a 2 in common? No. Do they have 4? No. 8? No. 10? No. Okay. Because I already got rid of those. Okay, so now I see they both have a common denominators. Okay, 6 and 12. I could put either one over here. Okay, because they asked me to write it with common denominators. So I could put the 12 over here, and I could work it. But I want you to get in the habit of doing the least common. I call them the LCMs. Okay, the least common multiple, the lowest common multiple. Least means lowest. Okay, which is 6. Okay. So I'm going to put a 6 there, okay? Now, that was the long way, okay? I put all the multiples of both of them out there. Let me show you the fast way, okay? That was the slow way. Let me show you the fast way, okay? The fast way is just take the big one. Just take the big one, okay? And do 3, okay? 3, 6, 9, 12. Don't worry about the small one, okay? Because the small one can sometimes go into the big one, okay? So let's just say it was 6 right there, okay? And this would be a different problem, okay? Does 2 go into 6? Oh, yes, it does. That makes 6 your new denominator, your lowest denominator right away, okay? What was my number here? It was a 3, okay? Okay, so now I'm starting with my big one, okay? So I have a 3, and I gotta say, does 2 go into 3? No. Okay, which means, is 2 times anything 3? No. Is 2 times anything 6, which is division 2? Does 2 go into 6? Yes, right away, 6 is my new denominator. Okay, so I don't have to do both of them and try to find commons. I can just have one out there, okay, have the big one out there, and then start seeing, does the low denominator go into those multiples, okay? So right away I got 6 there, okay? And let's just say this was a 6, okay? The first step is just saying, does the small one go into the big one perfectly? If it does, that denominator right there is your lowest common denominator, okay? Or your least common multiple, okay? So, oh man, I'm losing it. That was 2, and this was a 3, okay? So now this is your example 2, okay? Now I gotta find 2 times what equals 6? 2 times 3. 1 times, what do I do the bottom? I do the top. Why do I do that again? Okay, because I have to multiply 1/2 times 1. Okay, anything times 1 is itself. Okay, so 3 over 3. Okay, remember, 3 over 3 is the same as 1. Okay, and if I drew it out like this, whoa, that wasn't a very good drawing. Okay, 3 over 3 is the same as 1 whole. Okay, show up. Yeah, that shows up. Okay, so 1 times 3 is 3. Okay, so my new fraction there with the common denominator is 3, 6, and 11. How do I get from 3 to 6? Times 2. Whatever I do the bottom, I do the top. Okay, and so that now I'm multiplying 2 over 2. Okay, so 2 over 2 is the same as 1 whole, so I'm really multiplying 1/3 times 1 whole. Okay, is still going to be 1/3. That's why I can rename it. Okay, so 1 times 2 is 2. Okay, so my 2 answers they'd be looking for there, which you see in example 2, are 3, 6 and 2, 6. 3, 6 and 2, 6. And now I could add those. 3, 6 plus 2, 6 would be 5/6, okay? If you were going to do that as an addition problem. It's not addition problem today. We're not actually adding and subtracting them, okay? But that's what you would do, okay? Now we bounce into example 3, okay? Let me erase all this, okay? Hope this is making sense, and if not, watch the video again and catch some of those little tips and tricks, okay? It says, in examples 1 and 2, we found a common denominator of 2 fractions by multiplying the denominators. This method works for any 2 fractions. However, this method often produces a common denominator that's larger than necessary, okay? And I already explained this to you. For example, a common denominator of 1/2 and 3/8 is 16. But a lower common denominator is 8, okay? We usually look for the least common denominator, the LCD, I like to call them that. And we want to rename fractions with the least common denominator, okay? With common denominators. So, example 3 says, right, 1/3 and 1/6 with common denominators, okay? So let's do that, 1/3 and 1/6 with common denominators, okay? So, 1/3, 1/6. Okay, now they don't show you this, but I like to do it 1/3, 1/6, and I like to make separate problems because this will break you right into addition of fractions, okay? And I'll show you it in this problem, okay? So now I need common denominators, and they didn't tell us what to use as common denominators, but they want us to do lowest common denominator. So what do? Okay, there was the slow way, okay, or I could find the multiples of 3, find the multiples of 6, list them all out, and find the lowest common one. But what was the fast way? Was it to work with just the small one or just the big one? Just the big one, okay? So I take the big one as 6, okay? And I start saying, list them out, 6, 12, okay, 18, 24, okay? And if I needed to keep going, I would, but I'm just going to start with this, 6, okay? Now I got to say, does 3 go into 6? Yes, it does, right away. So 6 is my lowest common denominator. But you know what? Does 3 also go into 12? Yeah, it does. So 12 is a common denominator. Does 3 also go into 18? Yes, it does. 18 is a common denominator. So I could stick 6 here. I could also stick 12 here. Okay, and it would work. I could also stick 18 here. And it would work. And I could solve those, and I know I would get equal fractions there because those are all common denominators of 3 and 6, okay, are all common multiples, okay? So what about 24? Does 3 go into 24? Yeah, it does. 3 times 8 is 24. So I could also stick a 24 here, okay? Now if I did that, okay, I'm going to show you 2 ways of doing this, but what's my lowest one? My lowest one is 6, okay? My lowest one is 6, okay? So that's the one I'm going to use, okay? I'm going to show you something. And I'm actually going to add these up when I'm done, okay? And I'm going to pretend that this was a plus problem, 1/3 plus 1/6, okay? I'm taking this to a little advanced for you, okay? Which is good for you, okay? So now I go 3 times what is 6 on the top, okay? How do I get across here? 3 times what is 6? 3 times 2, okay? So whenever I do the bottom, I do the top. 1 times 2 is 2, okay? Now I have 1/6. Okay, what do I get from 6 to, oh, that's so easy, okay? 1/6, it's just going to be the same, but for those of you who need it, 6 times what is 6? 1. Whenever I do the bottom, I do the top. 1 times 1 is 1. Okay, now I have an addition problem, okay? I was trying to add 1/3 and 1/6. Okay, if I'm trying to add 1/3 plus 1/6, I cannot add that because they don't have common denominators, so I have to switch out the denominators, okay? So if I put them horizontally like this, suddenly I have these question mark problems, okay, which is what your lesson practice is today. I got these question mark problems, okay. What is that number? 3 times 2 is 6. 1 times 2 is 2, okay. So now I got that, okay. Now this 1/3 kind of just goes away. This 1/6 goes away, and now I have 2/6 plus 1/6. Okay, 2 plus 1 is 3, and then the 6 stays the same, so it is 3/6. Okay, now you learned when we had to simplify fractions here recently, or put them in the lowest terms. Okay, 3 and 6 you can both divide by 3. 3 equals 1/2. That's my answer. Okay, so that's not too bad. Okay, but now let's just say, so that's how that would work. Okay, so 1/3 plus 1/6 is 1/2. Okay, but now let's say I used 24. Okay, let's just say I rewrite this problem. Okay, 1/3 and 1/6. Okay, and I'm going to just throw 24. For some reason I just think 24. 3 can go into 24, and 6 can go into 24. Okay, so I put that in there, and I say, okay, how do I get from 3 to 24? I multiply by 8. Okay, what do I do to the bottom and to the top? 1 times 8 is 8. Okay, now I have 6 times what is 24? Times 4. 1. So what do I do to the bottom and to the top? 1 times 4 is 4. Okay, so now, okay, remember that was my old problem. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that I'm going to rewrite this over here. Okay, I had 3/6. Okay, was my answer. In order to get it in smallest forms, I divide by 3, which equaled 1/2, and 1/2 was my answer. Okay, so now, okay, if I'm adding these up, okay, my 1/3 kind of goes away. Okay, because I now renamed it to 8/24. My 1/6 goes away because I renamed it to 4/24. So now I have 8 plus 4 is 8 plus 4 is 12, and 24 stays in the bottom. Okay, so now I have 12/24. So now I have to look at that, and I have to decide, how do I make that in lowest forms? Okay, and that's a little bit more difficult because you got bigger numbers. This was super easy to see how to bring that down really fast. Now, if some of you know your multiples of 12, you can say, oh, I divide each by 12, but some of you will miss that. So you might go, oh, I could take a 6 out of it. Okay, so you divide by 6. Okay, 12 divided by 6 equals 2. Okay, and 24 divided by 6 equals 4. And you get 2 4s. Oh, wait, 2 4s can go down again. So divide by 2. Divide by 2, which equals 2 divided by 2 is 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2. And I get the same answer, 1/2. Okay? So it's just, you end up with a little bit harder problem when you take a bigger common denominator. So the best case scenario, take your lowest common denominator, and you'll get your answer quickest and easiest because your math will be the most simple, okay? Or the simplest, okay? So that is your new concept, okay? That was example 1, example 2, example 3. I'm going to show you what they want for letter A and letter C so that I help guide you to how to do your lesson practice, okay? So I took that a whole nother step. I showed you the why this is going to become important, okay? And the why is sometimes nice to know so you realize and you feel like, yeah, I know why I'm doing this, okay? You guys are doing a great job listening, and right now you're on the way to getting 2 riddles, math riddles, so keep your focus, we're almost done. Okay, letter A says rename 1/2 and 1/5, and they give you the common denominator. So they just say rename 1/2 and 1/5. Okay, now some of you are going to go like this and just try to give them new names. Okay, and the thing's going to run into each other. Remember, Mr. Mondale said the easy way to do this is to write 1/2 below 1/5, or 1/5 below, doesn't matter which order there, 1/5 below 1/2, cut them in half, okay, and make it separate things. And they told you in this one give them a new common denominator of 10. Okay, so I put a 10 here, and I put a 10 there, equals, okay? Question mark, okay, this is letter A, and then you just gotta figure out the question marks, okay? And then suddenly, your answers, okay, would be this fraction and that fraction, okay? And that's what they want you to do for letter A, okay? So for letter C, okay, letter C, they don't tell you the 10, okay? They just say rename each pair of fractions using their least common denominator. And this is where you have to figure out is not just any common denominator, but the lowest one, the least, the smallest, okay? So they say 1/2 and 2/3. They write it like this, 1/2 and 2/3, okay? Now, Mr. Monda thinks it's a whole lot easier, and it will build you into adding and subtracting fractions here soon. Okay, I think it's lesson 118 and 119, or 119 and 120, I can't remember. Okay, pretty much like the last 2 lessons of the book, and then all of 5th grade you get to plow through this stuff. Okay, 1/2 and 2/3. Okay, I want you to write it like this. Okay, and then, okay, you can simply go like that. Okay, and you have to come up with, okay, your common denominators. And here, this is where you could do it the long way. You could do 2 and 3 and go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And you could go 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. You could keep going on that and then find the lowest common one, the ones that have it the same. Or remember, the fast way is don't worry about the small one. Just take the big one, okay, and then start seeing, does 2 go into 3? No. Does 2 go into 6? Yes, okay. 2 goes into 6, okay, and there it was right there, okay. So 6 is your lowest common denominator. So that's what they want you to find for your answer. If by chance, okay, you had gone out to 12 there, and you just looked at this and saw 12, okay, and you filled in the question mark, when you go to check your answers in your answer key for the lesson practice, you're going to find that that's the wrong answers. Those, even though those are equivalent fractions, they wanted in the lowest common denominator. The lowest common denominator is 6, okay? So there you have it, folks. That's all, folks. Name that character. Okay, I am going to get you guys, since you guys were phenomenal listeners today, I'm going to get you your riddles. Eggs are 12 cents a dozen. How many eggs can you get for $1? Eggs are 12 cents a dozen. How many eggs can you get for $1? Okay? All right, and here's your next one. Jeff has $28.75. He purchased 3 cookies that cost $1.50 each. 5 newspapers that each cost 50 cents. 5 flowers for $1.25 each. And used the remainder of the cash on a pair of sunglasses. How much were the sunglasses? I'm going to repeat this just one more time, okay? Jeff has $28.75. He purchased 3 cookies that cost $1.50 each, 5 newspapers that each cost 50 cents, 5 flowers that each cost $1.25, and he used the remainder of the cash on a pair of sunglasses. How much were the sunglasses? Have fun solving those riddles, and you can get the answers in the next lesson, as long as I remember to give you the answers. Have a great day, kids.